This is WISN 12 News with breaking news.
Good afternoon. We're interrupting regular programming with breaking news in the trial of Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan.
Just moments ago, closing arguments wrapped up and the judge gave the case to the jury. Deliberation now underway as of 2:26 this afternoon. A grand jury indicted Judge Dugan on charges of helping an undocumented immigrant avoid ICE agents inside the Milwaukee County Courthouse in April. She faces a felony count of obstruction and a misdemeanor count of helping an individual avoid arrest.
Now, the defense spent about an hour or so presenting this case earlier this morning, calling 4 witnesses to the stand before resting. 2 Milwaukee County judges and a Milwaukee public defender described the fear and really the confusion last spring as those ICE agents and that ICE activity picked up in the courthouse without a formal policy in place by the court system on what to do on whether or not these arrests are made in courtrooms or maybe public hallways.
Yeah, former Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett testified as a character witness for Judge Dugan today. Dugan did not take the stand in her own defense. Prosecutors called 19 witnesses to the stand over the course of 3 days.
Now, we've been covering this trial for about a week now, the case in its entirety for about 8 months. 12 News' Blake Eason and political director Matt Smith are joining us live at the federal courthouse downtown.
Hey guys, welcome into the federal courthouse here in downtown Milwaukee, where the judge did just miss the jury to begin those deliberations. And so at this point, we are waiting to see just how long they will be able to deliberate today. Better yet, how long will the judge give them to deliberate today before ultimately sending them home and then bringing them back here tomorrow. Certainly a long way to go. 12 News political director Matt Smith has been in the courtroom every single day of this trial. Matt, take us inside what you saw today. What's going through the mind of the prosecution and the defense now that closing arguments have ultimately come to an end?
We are now down to 12, and as we speak, that jury is now entering the jury room to deliberate in this very serious case, as both sides this afternoon in closing arguments acknowledged, both for various different reasons. We are now down to 7 men and 5 women of this jury. One alternate was let go. Their first task at this hour, they are selecting a 4-person as we speak to kind of officially guide these initial conversations, officially ask any questions of the judge and the court as they begin going through this process of not only looking at the evidence, looking at video, potentially looking at transcripts. And you mentioned, Blake, the closing arguments. Those just wrapped several hours. We heard from the prosecution, then we heard from the defense, and then we finally got to hear from the prosecution one last time. It is the government who does get the last word since this is their case. And those conversations, of course, incredibly fascinating as we begin to piece apart what the jury will be taking with them into this room.
Yeah, Matt, what I found to be so fascinating about the defense is argument basically saying they're trying to make an example out of Judge Hannah Dugan. That's what they came out the gate saying. They have a very different version of the facts referring to the prosecution. And it's fascinating to think that we began this morning with the defense's closing arguments. So it's safe to say this has moved very swiftly today.
It moved very swiftly in the fact that the defense brought 4 witnesses this morning, all within an hour, and then we quickly moved on to these closing arguments. We have a couple snippets that we can bring up. Let's start with the prosecution just in terms of how they were framing their final argument to these 12 jurors. The prosecution saying this afternoon, quote, "We are asking you to hold her accountable for her criminal conduct, not her beliefs. We are asking you to draw the line. Why? Because judges shouldn't be helping defendants evade arrest." They were quoting one of the other Milwaukee County judges who made that comment in the courtroom, which the defense strongly criticized. Absolutely. The defense team summing up their arguments, they're saying this afternoon, quote, "They are trying to make this an example, Blake, as you said, of Hannah Dugan. The case is riddled with doubt." And the defense worked in their hour-plus long presentation to essentially try to poke holes in the case that the government has prevented their 3 days of testimony from nearly 20 witnesses that they brought up on the stands. And what was fascinating is not necessarily in the testimony itself, but what we saw today is what we have seen since day one, is this national conversation related to ICE, related to immigration, related to the Trump administration policies regarding arrests, whether they be in public places or courthouses. And we saw the prosecution come out and say, listen, we acknowledge there are strong opinions about ICE and about deportations. Shove that aside. What you need to look at is the facts in these case. At the same time, we have the defense coming in and saying, this is government overreach. Yep. This is the federal government, when they don't get their way, going after judges, going after whoever in terms of prosecution. So the Trump administration factor in this, the ICE factor, the immigration factor, It all came front and center in these closing arguments because they know that these jurors have strong feelings.
Right.
They don't know where those feelings are.
Absolutely.
They don't know what juror is a Republican. They don't know who may have voted for Kamala Harris. They don't know who may have voted for President Trump. But they all know they bring these feelings in.
Right.
And as they watched the juries over these past 4 days, they started to eye up, maybe this person is on our side, maybe this person is on their side. And they really worked to kind of talk about, not explicitly say, but both the defense and prosecution kind of revealed some of their fears and concerns going into these deliberations.
Well, speaking of concerns, I mean, ultimately one of the biggest challenges from the very beginning was finding a fair and impartial jury, which is hard to believe 1 week ago today was when that was all unfolding. And remember the conversations we were having then. This case has certainly has national implications, and many people know about this case because it has been such a big story across the country. Let's go back to the very beginning and how challenging that was for both sides to say, hey, look, we want to find a fair and impartial jury. No matter what your feelings are about these really complex topics, we need to find a fair and impartial jury.
And they talked about that today, and the judge talked about that in his jury instructions that happened just minutes ago, that you essentially need to consider the law in terms of these 2 counts that she is facing. But in terms of the jury selection, yes, they had that massive questionnaire that they filled out, talking about previous political organizations they've been part of, their beliefs on ICE, their beliefs on different political and other community aspects that they vetted. And now we do get down to this 12-person jury pool. And as Judge Edelman said, the U.S. District Judge, this case now is in your hands.
Absolutely. And before we send it back in studio, Matt, I do want to get your perspective on how important are jury instructions from the judge. You know, Judge Lynn Edelman spent about 15-20 minutes going over those instructions. These are the final moments, ultimately, before they start those deliberations. What's going through their mind?
It is the rules that they need to abide by in terms of how they come to their verdict, in terms of how they listen to audio. The judge, as we talked about all week on 12 News, is the conflict between the audio and the transcripts and what they need to do. But as we sit here today, Judge Hannah Dugan facing 2 counts, 1 felony, 1 misdemeanor. That jury now beginning its deliberations.
All right. 12 News political director has been there every step of the way, guys. We will hold it down here at the federal courthouse and let you know if anything changes as we await for the judge, or rather wait for the jury to finish their deliberations today. Deanna, Derek?
All right, Blake Eason and political director Matt Smith, thank you very much from the federal courthouse downtown. Again, just to review those 2 charges for you again, 1 is a felony, 1 is a misdemeanor. The felony count is obstructing or impeding a proceeding before a department or agency of the United States. The misdemeanor count, Judge Dugan is indicted on concealing an individual to prevent his discovery and arrest. And again, here is the makeup of the now 12 jurors who will be deciding Judge Hannah Dugan's fate.
Yeah, we have 7 men and 5 women. Again, a total of 12 there deliberating at this hour. They started deliberating at about 2:26 today. Now, here's the thing. The man at the center of this case is no longer here in the United States. His photo here on your screen. The Department of Homeland Security deported Eduardo Flores Ruiz after he pled guilty to being in this country illegally. He was originally in Judge Dugan's courtroom in April facing domestic violence charges. Be sure to stay with 12 News for coverage throughout this entire trial. The moment that there is a verdict, we will pass along on the 12 News mobile app, and we will also break into programming if we're not already on air.
And for now, we will return you back to the Tamron Hall Show.
You've been watching breaking news coverage from WISN 12 News. Stay with WISN 12, WISN.com, and our WISN mobile app for continuing coverage.